Be still, not because you are told to, but because the silence holds the secret. In the moment you become still, you withdraw power from the chaos of the senses. The race, the chase, the noise, all of it dies the moment you choose to listen. And in that sacred listening, something begins to move. Not in the world, but in you. Millions are not outside you, making their way toward you. They are already inside you, seeking expression. Money is not a distant prize, it is an idea clothed in form, and your consciousness is its home. When you stop chasing, you start magnetizing. When you stop doubting, you start creating. The unseen does not come to the frantic, it reveals itself to the still. Close your eyes, imagine, feel, hear the quiet voice that says, "It is done." Not "it will be," but "it already is." Right now, hear the sound of abundance around you. Hear your own voice saying, "I am wealthy," not as a hope, but as a reality. Feel the peace that comes when something is finished. That is the sound of millions arriving. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are, and what you are is being defined in the silence. Your job is not to strive, but to listen. The inner whisper is the script that the outer world must follow. Do not say, "How will it come?" Say instead, "It has already come." In this moment, without lifting a finger, sit in the fulfilled state. Let your imagination show you the life where millions are normal, where wealth is natural, where ease is the default. And stay there, abide in the state. Rest in it as if it were your bed. This is not a speech about waiting. This is a call to awaken. Millions are coming not because of effort, but because of embodiment. When you embody the feeling, you become the cause. The cause of all abundance is within you. So don't move. Don't scramble. Just listen. Your imagination is speaking, and it's saying, "It's already yours." Stillness is not idleness, it is not inaction. Stillness is a sacred condition, a divine state in which all creation begins. In a world addicted to movement, to noise, to doing, the greatest power lies in the ability to become still. When you quiet the senses, when you silence the mind, you step out of the illusion of the external world and enter the reality of inner being. You move away from appearances and toward essence. And it is in this space, this unseen, untouched, undisturbed space, that creation truly happens. When we act from panic, from fear, from urgency, we are not creating, we are reacting. Movement that begins in fear leads to more confusion, more noise, and more of the same circumstances we are trying to escape. But when you are still, you rise above reaction and step into the seat of authority. You are no longer being moved by life, you become the mover of life. You are not responding to the world begins responding to you. Stillness is the bridge between thought and manifestation. It is the moment where you suspend all disbelief, all need to control, all need to figure it out. It is the space where you listen deeply, not to the world, but to your own soul. And your soul always speaks in certainty. In stillness, the imagination awakens, the inner eye opens, and what you see in that invisible state carries more weight than anything you could touch or measure in the outer world. Creation is not effort, it is alignment. And alignment comes through inner harmony. You cannot receive the full flow of abundance, wisdom, or inspiration if you are not inwardly still. Stillness allows you to hear the truth before it becomes fact. It allows you to see the answer before the question is even asked. It allows you to receive ideas, visions, and revelations that are too quiet to be heard in the noise of striving. To be still is to trust. It is to accept that everything needed for fulfillment already exists within you. You do not have to chase, convince, or control. You have only to assume the feeling of what you desire and rest in that state as if it were already true. From that still assumption, creation is inevitable. The universe does not reward busyness. It responds to clarity. And clarity only comes when the waters are still. When your mind is at peace, your heart becomes magnetic. When your heart is magnetic, the world reshapes itself to reflect your inner knowing. So learn to sit with silence. Learn to dwell in the unseen. Be still, not as a discipline, but as a return to your origin. Because in that stillness, you are not doing less. You are doing the only thing that matters, aligning yourself with the divine blueprint of your life. And once you do, everything that is yours will come. Not because you ran after it, but because you remembered that it was already on its way. Imagination is not fantasy. It is not a childish escape or a fleeting dream. It is the very substance of reality itself. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything that seems real to your senses, first lived as an invisible image in consciousness. Imagination precedes fact. It is the womb from which all things are born, and what you vividly imagine, not just casually think about, but deeply feel, must take shape in your world, for imagination is the only reality. The outer world is nothing more than a mirror, faithfully reflecting back the dominant images held within your mind. People call it coincidence, luck, or effort, but the truth is simple. Your life bends around the pictures you persistently hold, not with occasional interest or heart belief, but with emotional acceptance, with faith. The moment you accept an idea in imagination as true, the world begins rearranging itself to fulfill it. You do not need the permission of the world to imagine something new. You do not need evidence or proof. Imagination does not ask for facts, it creates them. What you assume within, even if completely at odds with current conditions, will manifest if you do not abandon it. This is not positive thinking, this is the law of life. As within, so without. What you imagine with conviction must express itself. To imagine is to choose your future. Every image you dwell on, every scene you rehearse, every outcome you see in the theater of your mind is a seed. And if you water it with belief and emotion, it must grow. The world cannot deny the inner state. It may delay, it may disguise itself in timing or form, but it cannot deny. What is imagined and accepted becomes inevitable. This is why the most powerful thing you can do is to take time daily to imagine the life you desire as though it were already yours. Don't just see it, feel it, occupy it. Live inside the vision until it becomes more real to you than the evidence of your senses. This is not pretending, this is creating. Your senses are slow, they show you the past. But your imagination, that is your portal to the eternal now, where all things are possible. When you live by imagination, you free yourself from circumstances. You no longer react to what is. You create what will be. You do not ask how or when. You dwell in the end. You live from the result. And as you do, you shift the entire structure of your reality. Most people wait to believe until they see. But the truth is, you must see within before you will ever see without. The world is an echo. Your imagination is the voice. So dare to imagine boldly. Dare to feel it real. Accept your dream as the present fact, because imagination is not a hope. It is the blueprint of reality. And when you live from it, the world must conform. Feeling is not a reaction to life, it is the cause of life. Every emotion you hold, every inner mood you dwell in, shapes your reality in ways deeper than logic can ever grasp. Thought alone does not manifest. Words alone do not create. But the feeling behind them, the emotional acceptance that something is already true, that is the force that opens the invisible door to manifestation. There is a secret known only to those who have learned to turn within. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the creative key. When you assume the feeling of already having what you desire, you send out a signal stronger than effort, louder than speech, and clearer than action. The universe does not respond to what you want, it responds to who you are being. And who you are being is always felt first within. Desire by itself keeps you longing. It says, I want, and so you continue to experience not having. But when you shift from wanting to feeling, when you assume the emotion of already having, already being, already living the life you desire, you bring that future into the now. In that moment, the distance between desire and fulfillment disappears. The energy collapses. The event begins forming. This is not imagination as daydreaming. This is imagination clothed in emotional reality. This is what it means to feel it real. You close your eyes and dwell in the state of already being successful, already having the money, already living in love, already healed, already free. You ask yourself, what would I feel if this were true right now? And then you stay there. You rest in that feeling until it becomes natural, until it feels like home. Reality does not change through struggle, it changes through assumption. And the assumption must be emotional, not intellectual. The mind argues, doubts, calculates, but the heart knows. The heart accepts. And when the heart accepts something as true, even if there is no outer evidence, life begins to shape itself around that truth. Every moment you feel the wish fulfilled, you bring it closer. Every second you embody that feeling, you deepen the roots of that future in your present. The more real it feels within, the more real it must become without. This is not philosophy, this is law. It has never failed, and it never will. So ask not, what do I need to do, but rather, what do I need to feel? You do not move the world through effort, you move it through inner conviction. When your inner state matches the outer desire, the door opens. Silently, invisibly, inevitably. Feeling is the secret door, because it bypasses logic and opens the realm of certainty. Walk through that door daily, return to it in silence. Live from the end, not toward it. And as you do, you will find that time bends, resistance fades, and the world yields. Because the moment you feel it as real, it begins to become real. You are not a vessel waiting to be filled with wealth. You are the source from which wealth flows. The illusion of separation, the belief that abundance is somewhere outside of you, is the root of all struggle. In truth, you are already what you seek. Millions are not traveling through space and time to reach you. They are waiting within your consciousness, ready to express themselves through your state of being. Wealth is not money. Wealth is a state, an inner knowing, an unshakable identity that declares, I am enough, I have enough, I am the cause. When you embody this state, money becomes the natural reflection of your self-image. Circumstances align, people appear, opportunities unfold, not by chance, but by the magnetic force of your inner assumption. The world has trained you to think in reverse. It tells you to work harder, chase success, look for the next strategy, but all the while the real power sits untouched within. You don't have to get wealth, you have to awaken to the fact that you are wealth. The river does not ask for water, it is the water. Likewise, you are not meant to beg for abundance. You are meant to remember your true nature, abundant, infinite, complete. Every time you affirm lack, you shut the flow. Every time you say, I need, you reinforce the illusion that you are separate from your supply. But when you shift your inner dialogue to, it is already mine, I am the source, you activate a divine law. And that law says, what you are conscious of being must outpicture itself in form. Wealth is not something you achieve, it is something you allow. You allow it by aligning with the feeling of already being it. Not someday, not in the future, but now. You begin to walk, speak, act, and imagine from the state of being wealthy. Not to trick the world, but to train your own consciousness. Because when the inner state is stable, the outer world must conform. Stop waiting for proof. You are the proof. You are the beginning and the end of your financial experience. When you look out into the world and see abundance flowing, know that it is simply a reflection of those who have claimed their inner wealth. You have that same power. Not in the future, but right now. Millions are not coming to you because of luck, hustle, or chance. They are coming through you because you are no longer denying who you truly are. They come through your ideas, your boldness, your confidence, your assumption. They come through your willingness to believe without evidence and act as though it were already done. So stop chasing what you already are. Sit in the knowing, speak from the fulfillment, feel from the end, because when you realize that wealth is not what you get, but what you are, everything changes. You don't become wealthy, you remember that you've been wealth all along. There is a voice within you that speaks without sound, and yet it shapes every event in your life. It whispers in silence, and yet the world obeys it with unwavering precision. This is the inner hearing, not the voice of your thoughts or the noise of your fears, but the deep, quiet knowing that arises from your true self. What you hear in the silence of your soul speaks louder than anything you can say out loud, because it is this inner voice that writes the script the world must follow. Most people believe change begins with action, with words, with effort. But in truth, the outer world is only reacting to the tone of your inner conversation. What you continually say to yourself, what you emotionally hear within, becomes law. You may smile, you may affirm, you may act confident, but if inwardly you keep repeating stories of limitation, fear, or lack, the world will mirror them with painful accuracy. It does not respond to appearances, it responds to essence. This is the power of inner hearing. It is the creative force that operates in stillness. When you quiet the outer noise and turn your attention inward, you enter the place where all things are made. The silence of the soul is not empty. It is full of potential, full of instructions, full of power. And when you choose to fill that silence with the sound of fulfilled desire, when you hear over and over the words that would be spoken if your dream were already real, you summon that dream into existence. You must ask yourself, what do I hear when I am alone? What do I say to myself when no one is watching? These unspoken words are your true affirmations. They are the script you live by. And if you wish to change your life, you must first change that inner dialogue. Speak to yourself from the end. Hear yourself being congratulated. Hear the sounds of success, of love, of freedom. Feel the emotions that would rise if you were already where you want to be. Repeat them in silence until they echo louder than your doubts. This is not about forcing belief. It is about cultivating faith through repetition. The subconscious mind does not judge. It simply accepts what is impressed upon it with feeling. And it accepts most easily the things you hear over and over, especially in the sacred space of inner stillness. This is where the world is shaped, not in the noise, but in the quiet. You do not need to convince anyone. You only need to convince yourself. The world will follow, it cannot help it. The people, the circumstances, the events, they will all appear in harmony with the tone you have set in your inner world. So guard that silence. Fill it with truth. Let your inner hearing be saturated with the reality you choose. Because when your inner sound changes, everything around you must change to match it. The world has no choice but to echo the voice you choose to hear within. It's too good to whisper to write. It's too good to pray. The world you see around you is not fixed. It is fluid, responsive, and alive, always taking the shape of the assumptions you hold within. What you assume to be true, what you inwardly accept as real, will eventually harden into fact. But the key is persistence. The outer world may delay, but if you remain loyal to your inner conviction, reality has no choice but to bend. Assumption is not mere wishful thinking. It is a decision, a firm inner stance that says, this is who I am. This is what I have. This is what I know. It is not a hope. It is a knowing, even in the face of contradiction. And the moment you make this assumption and refuse to abandon it, you set into motion unseen forces that must bring it into being. The reason most people never see their desires manifest is not because the law doesn't work, it's because they waver. They assume wealth for a moment, then react to a bank statement and fall back into lack. They assume love, then interpret silence as rejection. They assume health, but let symptoms shake their faith. The world tempts you to doubt, but the truth is unchanging. If you persist in your assumption, the world must conform. It does not matter how things appear now. Reality is slow to catch up to inner change, but it always does. The outer world is not the cause, it is the effect. It is the echo. And if you continue to feed the source, your imagination, your assumption, the echo must eventually return in the form of your desire fulfilled. Persistence means loyalty. It means you choose to stand in the unseen, unmoved by what your eyes show or your ears hear. You feel it real and you feel it again and again until it becomes the most natural thing in the world to you. And once it becomes natural inside, it becomes inevitable outside. The law is impersonal. It does not respond to need or desperation or effort. It responds only to the dominant assumption. That is why your inner state is everything. You can say affirmations all day, but if beneath them you still assume lack, the results will match your assumption, not your words. But if you persist in the assumption of success, of fulfillment, of having already received, the world will yield. Even when nothing seems to change, hold the state, especially then. The delay is not denial, it is simply the time it takes for the outer form to reflect the inner shift. But it cannot resist forever. Reality is malleable, and your assumption is the mold. So stay loyal, be consistent in the unseen. Assume what you desire with confidence and keep assuming, regardless of appearances. Let the world do what it must. Your only job is to persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Because when you do, fact must follow, not maybe, must. Reality is faithful to the one who remains faithful to their assumption. You are not here to struggle, to chase, or to prove. You are here to remember. To remember that stillness creates, that imagination shapes, that feeling fulfills, and that you, yes, you are the source of all that is good and abundant. The world around you is not fixed, it is listening. It responds not to effort but to inner conviction. So assume your desire boldly. Feel it fully. Persist in it faithfully. Because when you remain loyal to the unseen, the seen must follow. You don't have to wait. You don't have to move. Just listen. deeply, silently, and you will hear the truth echo within you. It is already yours. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Your transformation has already begun.
My dear friends, I want to speak to you today about a truth so divine, so deeply powerful, that if you truly grasp it, if you feel it, you will begin to witness the unfolding of a new world. It is the truth that when you focus on yourself and stay silent, everything falls into place. I am not referring to a self-centeredness of the ego, but to the sacred discipline of self-attention, a deep inward turning where you abandon the noise of the world and turn your gaze inward to the source of all creation, your own wonderful human imagination. Now listen carefully. The world is nothing more than yourself pushed out. It is the mirror of your inner conversations, your inner beliefs, and the assumptions you accept as true. When you are constantly observing the world, commenting on it, judging it, or reacting to it, you are enslaved to the reflection. But when you focus on yourself, on your imagination, your inner state, your assumptions, you begin to operate as the cause and not the effect. And in this silence, this stillness of attention, the entire universe bends to fulfill your command. There is a sacred power in silence. In silence, the imagination speaks. In silence, the soul remembers its nature. In silence, the infinite reveals itself to the finite. People are so addicted to noise, to talking, to comparing, to debating, to defending. They don't realize that they're creating chaos by their very need to explain, to be understood, to argue for their limitations. But the one who goes within, the one who enters the silence of their being and feels from the state of the wish fulfilled, they need not explain anything. They do not beg, they do not chase, they do not prove. They simply assume and they become. This is what it means to live in the end. You don't talk about the end. You don't explain why you deserve it. You don't argue with others who doubt you. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and go silent. Because the silence is not emptiness, it is pregnancy. It is creation in motion. You are carrying the seed of your own destiny, and to speak too soon, to share it with the world before it is rooted, is to risk its miscarriage. That is why I say go within. Focus on yourself, assume the end, and stay silent. Watch how everything begins to organize itself in your favor. The world cannot help but respond to your state of being. But when you are always reacting, you keep changing your state. One moment you are believing, the next you are doubting. One moment you are in peace, the next you are defending yourself. And so nothing has time to crystallize. But when you go within and dwell persistently in the state of your desire, without the need to justify, explain, or convince, then the bridge of incidents unfolds without your interference. What you seek, seeks you. What you assume, assumes form. Many ask me, but Neville, how can I remain silent when I am facing problems? And I tell them, the problem is not out there. The problem is within you, in your belief about yourself. You think you need to fix the world to feel peace, but you must feel peace to fix the world. Silence is not passivity. It is mastery. It is the knowing that I do not have to fight the outer when I have already claimed the inner. I do not need to resist the shadows when I have already turned on the light. The outer world has no choice but to conform to your inner assumptions. So focus on yourself. Ask yourself, what am I imagining? What am I assuming to be true? What inner conversations am I entertaining? That is where your attention must go, not to what others are doing, not to what they are saying, not to what the world appears to be, but to what you are accepting as true. For you can only experience what you accept. And if you are not pleased with your life, then turn within, revise it, assume anew, and be silent. For he who assumes the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and rests in that assumption with silent conviction, he will see it made visible in due time. Let me remind you, imagination is not a fanciful daydream, it is reality itself. The eternal world exists within you, and it is through your own wonderful imagination that you shape and mold that world. To focus on yourself is to focus on imagination. To stay silent is to honor its creative power. You need not tell anyone your dreams. You need not ask for permission. The only thing you must do is to see it in your mind's eye, feel it as true, live from it mentally, and trust the silence to do its perfect work. You have no idea how powerful you are when you stop explaining and start assuming. When you stop chasing and start imagining. When you stop reacting and start resting in the knowing that it is already done. That is the life of the mystic. That is the secret of the masters. That is how everything falls into place. Not because you controlled the world, but because you controlled the only thing that matters. Your state of consciousness. You are always being invited to return to yourself. The outer noise will tempt you. People will provoke you. Circumstances will try to distract you. But your job is not to fix the outer, it is to persist inwardly in the knowing that all things are already yours. The man who knows this truth cannot be shaken. He walks in silence. He acts with faith. He imagines with conviction. And his world molds itself accordingly. You do not have to announce your plans. You do not have to prove your worth. You do not have to respond to every critic. You do not have to defend your desires. Your only task is to assume the end, to feel its reality, and to walk in that feeling silently. For the silence itself is the evidence of belief. If you truly believed it was done, you would not need to convince anyone of it. You would rest. You would smile. You would radiate the quiet confidence of a soul who knows that creation is finished, and manifestation is simply a matter of divine timing. Even the Master himself, when he raised Lazarus, said only a word. He did not perform a spectacle. He did not try to convince the crowd. He simply knew the truth, gave thanks and called forth life. So must you do. Know it in silence. Give thanks in advance, and call it forth, not with noise, not with desperation, but with the gentle command of the one who knows who he is. Everything you desire is already yours, but it is yours in consciousness first. The outer must follow. So do not disrupt the process by explaining it to those who cannot see. Do not speak prematurely. Do not plant your seed and then dig it up to see if it is growing. Rest in silence. Let it be. Trust the law, and the law will not fail you. When you focus on yourself, you begin to sense your power. When you stay silent, you allow that power to build. And when you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and persist in it, the entire world moves to reflect your assumption. That is the divine order of things. The world bends not to effort, but to imagination. Not to struggle, but to assumption. Not to noise, but to knowing. Do not be afraid of silence. Embrace it. For in the silence the word is spoken, and the word is God. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you are listening for that word. And when it comes, when it arises in your imagination as the fulfilled desire, you say it is finished, and walk away. That is the sacred act of creation. The moment you say, I am, you begin the act of becoming. Say, I am wealthy, and do not explain it. Say, I am loved, and do not seek validation. Say, I am successful, and do not look around for proof. The proof will come. It must. For nothing can stop the man who assumes the end and remains loyal to it in silence. Let others doubt. Let them talk. Let them question. You need not answer them. Your manifestation will be your answer. Your life will be your testimony. Your silence will speak louder than all their noise. And when it comes, when the vision hardens into fact, they will say it happened overnight. But you will know it happened the moment you assumed it in your imagination. So I urge you, go within. Dwell in the silence of your own soul. Assume only the best for yourself. Speak only to yourself. And trust that your inner world is the only real world. When you align your inner speech, your inner vision, your inner state, then the outer world becomes nothing more than a reflection of that inner harmony. When it does, when everything falls into place, you will not be surprised. For you knew it was done from the beginning. That is the life of the awakened one. That is the journey of the mystic. That is the silent power of assumption. Everything begins and ends in you. So focus on yourself. Stay silent. Assume the end. And watch, just watch, how everything falls into place. You will begin to notice that the people who once ignored you begin to pay attention. Opportunities you once chased now appear in your path. Circumstances begin to shift, not because you forced them, but because you became the person who naturally attracts them. The silence you see is not about retreating from life. It is about returning to the center of your creative power. It is the declaration, I am no longer reacting. I am creating. I am no longer chasing. I am choosing. I am no longer lost in the noise. I am rooted in the knowing. It is the silence of kings, the stillness of masters, the quiet of those who no longer need to prove themselves, for they know that they are the thing they desire to be. They understand the law that consciousness is the only reality, and the outer is a delayed echo, so they do not rush, and they do not worry. They move deliberately, they live imaginatively, and they speak very little of their plans, for their plans are not hopes, but assumptions already fulfilled. Your power lies not in how loudly you can declare your dreams to others, but in how firmly you can assume them in the privacy of your own being. This is the sacred work. This is the real transformation, not of the world, but of yourself. For when you are transformed, the world must be transformed too. When you persist in the assumption of your ideal self, the world has no choice but to reflect that assumption. This is the law. So I say again, return to yourself. When the world seems chaotic, return to the stillness within. When others do not understand you, return to your inner vision. When it feels like nothing is happening, return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled and rest in it. For your imagination, when directed with faith, does not fail. It cannot fail. Because it is not just a faculty of mind, it is God in action. In that secret silence, where you commune with your higher self, the most miraculous changes occur. Not through struggle, not through resistance, but through assumption. Through the faithful, persistent occupation of your chosen state of being. It may take days, or weeks, or months, but the outer must yield. For it is law. Imagination creates reality. And when you dwell in the end, when you persist in the state, the world conforms. But few will believe this. Many will continue to shout, to argue, to defend. They will speak more and imagine less, and so their world remains unchanged. But you, the silent one, you will move in stillness, in confidence, in inner certainty, and as you do, you will know what it means to live as a conscious creator. You will know the divine rhythm of the law at work. You will know the sweetness of answered prayer, though you never uttered a word of it to anyone but yourself. The silence is sacred, protect it. The imagination is holy, direct it. Your assumptions are the seeds of your reality. Plant them with care, and above all, trust the process. Trust the law. Trust yourself, and you will see, without forcing a single thing, that all things are added unto you. Everything, yes, everything, falls into place. You will notice the subtle magic at play. The phone rings at just the right moment. A conversation overheard gives you the answer you needed. An email arrives. A chance meeting turns into a blessing. But none of it will feel like chance to you, because you saw it all before. You lived it inwardly, long before the world caught up. You rehearsed the moment. You felt the success. You imagined the love. You assumed the wealth. And so when it arrives, you do not react with shock. You smile in quiet recognition. Of course it happened this way. It had no choice. You were faithful to the unseen. You were devoted to the state. And that faith, that deep inner loyalty to your imagined reality, is what moved mountains. You didn't need to scream it from rooftops. You didn't need to explain yourself. You didn't need to convince anyone of your worth or your vision. You simply became it in silence, and the world bowed to your assumption. The silence was not an absence of sound. It was the presence of power. It was the stillness where God resides. The stillness that speaks louder than any words. Stay there. Remain in that secret place. Let others think you are quiet, strange, withdrawn. Let them misunderstand you. It matters not. For you are speaking with the infinite. You are communing with the creative cause of all that is. And when you do that, when you truly feel from the end, you no longer seek results. You expect them. You do not demand signs. You assume them. You do not beg. You bless. Because in the silence you have become the thing you once longed for. Let me tell you something profound. When you finally realize that the world is responding to you, not to your words, but to your inner states, you will stop wasting energy on appearances. You will stop arguing with facts. You will stop correcting others, or proving yourself. Instead, you will quietly revise. You will close your eyes, and see it the way you want it to be. You will inhabit the new version of yourself. And in that holy act of mental repositioning, everything around you begins to move. It will seem strange to those still trapped in appearances. They will wonder how you got so calm. They will ask why you are no longer worried. They might even mock your silence. But you know what they do not. You are not silent because you gave up. You are silent because you finally believed. You believed in your inner world more than the outer one. And that belief is what makes the dream inevitable. Do not give your sacred desires to the judgment of others. Do not speak them into the air, where doubt can devour them. Keep them in the vault of your consciousness. Guard them like treasure, not out of fear, but out of reverence. For what you imagine with love and persist in with faith must become flesh. It must take shape. The law does not ask for noise. It asks for knowing. That knowing, that silent confidence, is what moves all things into perfect order. People change their minds. Situations dissolve. Solutions appear. But you did not make it happen with action. You made it happen with alignment. You tuned yourself to the frequency of your desire, and everything unlike it fell away. The world does not reward the loud. It rewards the aligned. So go ahead, close the door, turn inward, and claim your dream. Not in a rush, not with anxiety, but with stillness, with peace, with certainty. That is the language the universe understands. Not begging, not pleading, but being. When you become it in imagination, when you feel it real in the silence of your soul, you speak the command that reshapes your world. The more you do this, the more effortless it becomes. You begin to smile more. You begin to worry less. You begin to see the invisible strings being pulled in your favor. You begin to trust the unseen, for it becomes more real to you than anything the five senses can report. And in that trust, in that silence, in that beautiful focus on your inner world, the divine choreography begins. It's not a matter of if things will fall into place. It's a matter of how gracefully they will unfold when you step aside and let the law do its perfect work. You were never meant to wrestle the world into submission. You were meant to become the state, and let the world reflect your becoming. You were meant to move first in imagination, and then in silence, with the quiet dignity of one who knows, not as one who hopes, but as one who is. And this knowing, this inner certainty, radiates outward. It enters a room before you do. It speaks volumes without a word. It reshapes conversations, opens doors, redirects paths, and influences hearts, not by force, but by vibration. For everything you encounter is drawn to you, not by accident, but by resonance. And your state of consciousness is that resonance. So you do not need to shout. You do not need to prove. You do not need to convince anyone. You simply return again and again to the inner act, the vision held in faith, the feeling dwelt in deeply, the assumption made silently. This is your true power. This is how creation happens. And when the world changes as it must, you do not point outward and say, "See, I made it happen." You simply remain in the stillness, and give thanks, for you knew it all along. You see, the man who is truly awake no longer needs evidence. He becomes the evidence. His life speaks louder than his lips. His energy enters every room before his footsteps do, and people sense it. They don't always understand it, but they feel it. They feel the calm, the assurance, the quiet force of a mind made up, a soul at peace, a creator in motion. This is the reward of focus. This is the fruit of silence. If you falter, if you are tempted to speak out of fear, to react, to explain, remember this: nothing is lost. Simply return. Close your eyes again. Feel again, assume again, and be still. There is no punishment in this law. There is only delay or alignment. And every moment offers you the chance to return, to realign, to reimagine. So take it, use it. Make the inner world your home, and the outer world will become your garden. The truth is, you were never meant to struggle in the world of effects. You were meant to reign in the world of causes. And that world is inside you. When you understand this, really understand it, you become unshakable. You stop giving your power to what is. You stop feeding energy to appearances. You stop talking about your problems, and start dwelling in solutions. And this silent dwelling is what changes the course of your life. Everything you want already exists in the infinite field of possibility. You don't have to fight for it. You only have to assume it. Occupy it in consciousness. Walk in it mentally, and stay silent while it forms. It will come. It must come. Because imagination is the only reality, and assumption sustained becomes fact. So choose today.
not what you want to do, but what you want to be, and be it inwardly. Feel it fully. Speak of it only to yourself, then rest, let it come to you, and while you wait, praise it in the silence, thank it in advance, live in its reality, and let the world adjust itself. It always does. And so I leave you with this truth, a truth not shouted, but softly spoken to the soul. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, the universe listens. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and dwell in it with unwavering faith, the outer world must obey, not by force, not through frantic action, but through the quiet mastery of your inner state. You are not here to chase, you are here to become, and in becoming, everything must come to you. Let others speak, let others doubt, let others debate, but you remain focused, remain silent, remain still in your knowing, for in that sacred silence, your power multiplies, and in that stillness your destiny begins to unfold, not by chance, but by law. The world is not outside of you, it is within you. Govern it wisely, assume boldly, feel deeply, and let your silence deliver loudly. For when you truly understand this, you will no longer seek to control the world, because you will know, beyond all doubt, that it is already yours, and everything will fall perfectly, effortlessly into place.
There is a quiet assurance that comes when you are on the right path. It is not always announced with fanfare or marked with grand signs from the heavens, but rather it unfolds like a whisper in the depths of your soul. There are moments when the world around you may seem chaotic, yet within there is a deep and abiding peace. This is the first sign. You feel a sense of calm even when the external world does not reflect it. Its circumstances may shift, challenges may arise, yet you remain unshaken. For something within tells you that all is unfolding as it should. Another sign is that you begin to witness small, seemingly insignificant manifestations of your desires. It may be a phrase you hear repeated, a book that appears at the perfect moment, a conversation that confirms what you already knew deep inside. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. The world around you is beginning to echo the thoughts you have impressed upon your mind. What once seemed distant now feels within reach. You see the evidence before it fully materializes, and you know you're on the right path. There is also a shift in your relationships. Some people begin to fade from your life, not out of malice or conflict, but because their presence is no longer in alignment with where you are going. Others, however, enter unexpectedly, carrying messages, opportunities, and encouragement. You do not chase connections anymore. They flow effortlessly to you. Those who remain in your life seem to reflect the version of yourself you are becoming, as if the world is adjusting to match the new image you have formed in your mind. Doubt and fear do not hold the same power over you. You may still hear their whispers, but they do not control your actions. Where once hesitation may have stopped you, now you move forward despite uncertainty. You begin to trust in unseen forces guiding you, in the invisible bridge forming beneath your feet as you walk forward. This trust is not based on logic, but on knowing, a knowing that does not require evidence, only belief. Your desires no longer feel like distant dreams, but present realities waiting to unfold. You stop yearning and start embodying. You think from the place of fulfillment, not lack. You act as if it is already done, because within you already possess it. The more you persist in this knowing, the more the world rearranges itself to reflect it back to you. Opportunities arise in ways you never expected. Doors you once knocked on without response now swing open effortlessly. Where you once struggled, now there is flow. You realize that struggle was never necessary. It was belief in struggle that made it real. Now, as you trust in the unseen, ease replaces effort, and things begin to fall into place without force. Synchronicities become a regular occurrence. The right words, the right people, the right situations, all seem to appear at the perfect time. Time itself feels different. Moments of deep presence stretch infinitely, while unnecessary distractions fade away. You are no longer pulled by the past or anxious about the future, for you are fully engaged in the now. And it is in this now that the power to shape all things exists. You no longer seek signs, for you have become the sign. The world reflects your inner state, and because you have chosen to walk in certainty, the path beneath you continues to unfold in perfect harmony. The path was always there, waiting for you to trust, to believe, to step forward in faith. And now, as you move with unwavering conviction, you realize you were never lost. You were simply awakening to the truth that you were always on the right path. There is a quiet assurance that comes when you are on the right path. It is not always announced with fanfare or marked with grand signs from the heavens, but rather it unfolds like a whisper in the depths of your soul. There are moments when the world around you may seem chaotic, yet within there is a deep and abiding peace. This is the first sign. You feel a sense of calm even when the external world does not reflect it. Circumstances may shift, challenges may arise, yet you remain unshaken, for something within tells you that all is unfolding as it should. Another sign is that you begin to witness small, seemingly insignificant manifestations of your desires. It may be a phrase you hear repeated, a book that appears at the perfect moment, a conversation that confirms what you already knew deep inside. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. The world around you is beginning to echo the thoughts you have impressed upon your mind. What once seemed distant now feels within reach. You see the evidence before it fully materializes, and you know you are on the right path. There is also a shift in your relationships. Some people begin to fade from your life, not out of malice or conflict, but because their presence is no longer in alignment with where you are going. Others, however, enter unexpectedly, carrying messages, opportunities, and encouragement. You do not chase connections anymore. They flow effortlessly to you. Those who remain in your life seem to reflect the version of yourself you are becoming, as if the world is adjusting to match the new image you have formed in your mind. Doubt and fear do not hold the same power over you. You may still hear their whispers, but they do not control your actions. Where once hesitation may have stopped you, now you move forward despite uncertainty. You begin to trust in unseen forces guiding you, in the invisible bridge forming beneath your feet as you walk forward. This trust is not based on logic, but on knowing. A knowing that does not require evidence, only belief. Your desires no longer feel like distant dreams, but present realities waiting to unfold. You stop yearning and start embodying. You think from the place of fulfillment, not lack. You act as if it is already done, because within you already possess it. The more you persist in this knowing, the more the world rearranges itself to reflect it back to you. Opportunities arise in ways you never expected. Doors you once knocked on without response now swing open effortlessly. Where you once struggled, now there is flow. You realize that struggle was never necessary. It was belief in struggle that made it real. Now, as you trust in the unseen, ease replaces effort, and things begin to fall into place without force. Synchronicities become a regular occurrence. The right words, the right people, the right situations all seem to appear at the perfect time. Time itself feels different. Moments of deep presence stretch infinitely, while unnecessary distractions fade away. You are no longer pulled by the past or anxious about the future, for you are fully engaged in the now. And it is in this now that the power to shape all things exists. You no longer seek signs, for you have become the sign. The world reflects your inner state, and because you have chosen to walk in certainty, the path beneath you continues to unfold in perfect harmony. The path was always there, waiting for you to trust, to believe, to step forward in faith. And now, as you move with unwavering conviction, you realize you were never lost. You were simply awakening to the truth that you were always on the right path. There is a shift in your emotions, a change in how you respond to the world. Where once you were quick to react, now you observe. The situations that once triggered frustration, fear, or doubt now seem distant, as if they no longer belong to you. You begin to realize that your inner state dictates your experience, and you guard it fiercely. You do not allow external events to disturb your inner sanctuary, for you have discovered that the only reality that matters is the one within you. You have discovered that the only reality that matters is the one within you. When something does not align with your new self-concept, you do not resist it. You simply turn your attention away, knowing that what you focus on expands. This is a powerful sign that you are on the right path. Your emotions are no longer dictated by the world, but by the truth you hold within. You notice that the old version of you, the one that doubted, worried, and hesitated, no longer feels familiar. You catch glimpses of the thoughts you used to entertain, but they seem foreign now, as if they belong to someone else. You have stepped into a new identity, and the old self no longer has power over you. This transition is not always sudden. It happens in small moments, in tiny realizations, in brief flashes of awareness that remind you that you have changed. And the more you embrace this new self, the more the world conforms to it. You do not force change, you allow it, and it happens effortlessly. The concept of time itself begins to shift. What once felt urgent now feels insignificant. You no longer rush, for you understand that all things come in their appointed time. There is a patience, a stillness, a knowing that what you seek is already yours. You stop looking for evidence because you no longer need it. The world must reflect what you believe, and you hold steadfast to that belief. Even when the physical world has yet to catch up, this patience is not passive. It is the greatest act of faith, a faith so unwavering that the world bends to meet it. You begin to feel a deep sense of gratitude, not just for what you have, but for what you know is already unfolding. This gratitude is not conditional. It does not wait for things to appear before it is felt. It is a gratitude that precedes manifestation, a gratitude that affirms your certainty. And the more you dwell in this feeling, the faster things materialize. You no longer seek, you receive. You no longer hope, you expect. You no longer wish, you declare. And in that declaration, the world must respond. You no longer question whether you are on the right path, for the path itself is not something you find, it is something you create. Each step forward is an act of creation, each thought a brushstroke on the canvas of your reality. You are no longer a passive observer of life, you are its architect. The signs are not outside of you, they emanate from within. You do not need to look for them, for they are already present in every moment, in every breath, in every beat of your heart. There is a sense of inevitability about your success, a feeling that nothing can stop you. You no longer entertain thoughts of failure, for failure itself is an illusion, a concept created by those who do not understand the nature of creation. You know now that everything is working in your favor, even the challenges, even the detours, even the moments that once felt like setbacks. They were never setbacks, they were stepping stones, perfectly placed to lead you exactly where you need to be. The opinions of others no longer concern you. You do not seek validation, for you are already validated by your own knowing. You do not require permission, for you have given yourself permission to step into the life that has always been meant for you. The approval of the world is meaningless compared to the approval you have given yourself. And because of this, the world respects you in a way it never has before, and people sense something different about you. They may not be able to put it into words, but they feel it. They feel the certainty, the confidence, the unshakable belief that radiates from within you. The right path is not always the easiest, but it is the most fulfilling. It requires trust, persistence, and an unbreakable faith in the unseen. But when you walk it, when you commit to it fully, everything changes. You realize that you are not merely walking a path, you are the path. The journey was never about finding something outside of you, it was about uncovering what was already within. And now, as you move forward with unwavering certainty, you understand that you were never lost, never uncertain, never without direction. You were always exactly where you needed to be. There comes a moment when you no longer question whether things are working in your favor. You no longer seek reassurance from the outside world, because something deep within you already knows. It is not an arrogant knowing, nor is it a fleeting belief. It is a quiet certainty, a conviction that does not waver. You may not yet see the full manifestation of your desires, but you feel them as real, as present, as inevitable. And that feeling alone is enough. It carries you forward without resistance, without doubt, without the need to look back. When you are on the right path, you begin to experience a profound shift in how you view setbacks. What once appeared as obstacles now seem like divine arrangements, guiding you in ways you could not have planned for yourself. You no longer see delays as denials, but as preparation. You trust the timing of your life because you have come to understand that everything is aligning with absolute precision. Even when something does not go as expected, you find yourself responding differently. There is no panic, no despair, only a quiet awareness that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. A deep sense of detachment begins to take root. Not the kind of detachment that means indifference, but the kind that comes from true faith. You no longer chase after things with desperation because you recognize that what is meant for you cannot be lost. You do not cling to circumstances, to people, to outcomes, because you understand that the source of all creation is within you. You do not need to control the process. You need only trust it. This is when things begin to flow effortlessly. The moment you release attachment to how something must happen, you create space for miracles to unfold. You find yourself being led by intuition rather than logic. Your mind, once filled with doubts and overthinking, becomes quiet, and you begin to listen to something deeper. You follow nudges, impulses, subtle inner promptings that guide you in ways that cannot always be explained. And when you trust these feelings, they always lead you somewhere meaningful. You start to see how everything is connected, how each experience was placed in your path for a reason. Even the moments that once seem insignificant now reveal themselves to be stepping stones, perfectly orchestrated to bring you to where you are meant to be. Your energy shifts, and with it, the way the world responds to you. You notice how people treat you differently, how opportunities seem to present themselves without effort, how the things you once struggled for now come with ease. This is not coincidence, it is alignment. The outer world is simply reflecting the changes that have taken place within you. You no longer doubt your worth, and so the world no longer gives you reasons to question it. You no longer seek validation, and so you find yourself naturally respected. The shift happens subtly at first, but over time it becomes undeniable. You are no longer trying to attract things, you are embodying the state in which they naturally come to you. There is a newfound appreciation for stillness. The need for constant movement, for distractions, for external stimulation fades away. You find peace in the present moment, in simply being. There is no rush, no urgency, no impatience, just a deep contentment that does not depend on circumstances. You realize that happiness is not something you chase, but something you allow. And the more you dwell in this state, the more your external world begins to mirror it. The more the people, the opportunities, the experiences that come into your life all seem to align effortlessly with the peace you have cultivated within. You no longer react to life, you respond to it. Where once you were easily shaken by challenges, now you remain grounded. You see beyond appearances, beyond temporary circumstances, and into the deeper meaning of things. You no longer waste energy on worry, on frustration, on fear, because you understand that all things are working together for your highest good. And even in moments of uncertainty, you remain steady because you have built your foundation on something unshakable, the knowing that your path is divinely guided. Your desires no longer feel separate from you. There is no gap between where you are and where you want to be, because you have stepped into the feeling of already having it. You speak, think, and act from the reality you have chosen, and the world begins to reflect it back to you. What once felt like wishful thinking now feels like an inevitable unfolding. The distance between desire and manifestation disappears, and all that remains is your unwavering faith in what is already yours. The things that used to consume your energy no longer hold the same power over you. The need to prove yourself, to seek approval, to justify your choices fades away. You no longer concern yourself with how others perceive you, because you are no longer living for their validation. You are living for your own truth, and that truth does not require explanation. The opinions of others become background noise, while your inner voice becomes background noise. While your inner voice becomes background noise, 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 while your inner voice becomes background noise. You do not need the world to agree with your vision, for you know that it is already done. You become magnetic to the things that align with your highest self. People, experiences, and opportunities appear effortlessly, drawn to the energy you now radiate. You no longer chase, you attract. You do not beg for things to happen, you allow them. And in this allowing, you realize that you have stepped into a state of effortless creation. The more you trust, the more things align. The more you let go, the more things come to you. The more you surrender, the more power you gain. You see evidence of your alignment everywhere. The numbers, the signs, the synchronicities. They are constant reminders that you are exactly where you need to be. The world begins to feel like a conversation, one in which the universe is always speaking to you, guiding you, reassuring you. The path ahead no longer feels uncertain because you are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are walking in the knowing that it already has. You realize that nothing is missing. The feeling of lack, of longing, of needing something outside of yourself to be complete disappears. You no longer wait for the future to bring you happiness, for you have found it within. And as you rest in this state, you watch as the world around you transforms to match it. You have become the embodiment of your desires. And because of this, they can no longer be separate from you. There is a profound stillness in knowing, a quiet power in certainty, a peace that cannot be disturbed. This is how you know you are on the right path, not because of what is happening around you, but because of what is happening within you. The signs are no longer something you look for. They are something you recognize. And as you move forward, you do so with absolute confidence, knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. There is no need to rush, no need to force, no need to demand anything from life. You begin to realize that everything is flowing exactly as it should, in perfect divine timing. The urgency that once ruled your mind disappears, replaced by an unshakable trust in the process. You no longer grasp at the future, nor do you dwell in the past. You simply exist in the now, fully aware that everything is unfolding in your favor. The people around you may not understand this shift. They may wonder why you are no longer worried, why you do not react the way you once did, why you seem so calm even when things appear uncertain. But that is because they are still caught in the illusion of lack, of struggle, of separation. You, however, have stepped beyond that illusion. You see beyond appearances, beyond temporary circumstances, into the unseen reality that is always shaping your life. You are no longer swayed by negativity. It no longer has a place within you. What used to trigger you, what used to disturb your peace, now simply passes through you like a fleeting shadow. You are no longer bound by the limitations of the old self. You have become someone new, someone who operates from a higher understanding, a greater awareness. And in this state, nothing can shake you. Nothing can pull you away from the deep knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. Doubt has no hold over you. Fear no longer paralyzes you. You no longer question whether you are worthy, whether you are capable, whether you are moving in the right direction. You feel it, you know it, and because of that, the path ahead becomes clear. Decisions that once felt impossible now come easily. The fog of uncertainty lifts, revealing the way forward with absolute clarity. You do not hesitate. You do not second guess. You move with confidence, with purpose, with the full knowing that every step you take is guided. Opportunities appear effortlessly. What once seemed out of reach now comes to you without struggle. You no longer need to chase, to beg, to plead for things to happen. They happen naturally as a direct reflection of the state you are in. You do not have to manipulate circumstances, nor do you need to convince anyone of your worth. The energy you radiate speaks for itself. The world responds to you in a way it never has before. You no longer live in resistance. There is no need to fight against life, to force things into place, to control every outcome. You let go, and in that letting go you find that everything begins to align effortlessly. What is meant for you flows into your life with ease. What is not meant for you naturally falls away. You do not chase, you do not cling, you simply allow. And in this state of allowing, you discover the greatest power of all, the power of trust. You begin to see signs everywhere, not because you are looking for them, but because you are aligned with them. The universe is always speaking to you, always confirming that you are on the right path. Numbers, symbols, synchronicities. Each one a gentle reminder that you are exactly where you need to be. You no longer need external validation, but when you receive it, it only strengthens the truth you already know. There is a new sense of purpose in everything you do. Even the smallest actions feel meaningful. There is no more aimless wandering, no more questioning why you are here or what you are meant to do. The answers reveal themselves effortlessly. The vision becomes clearer, the purpose undeniable. You wake up each day with a quiet excitement, a deep gratitude for the life you are creating. The dreams that once felt distant now feel close, tangible, real. You find joy in the present moment, no longer waiting for some future event to bring happiness, no longer believing that fulfillment lies somewhere outside of you. You realize that everything you have been seeking has been within you all along. And because of that, the world begins to reflect your inner joy. You attract experiences that mirror the happiness, the peace, the love you have cultivated within. You notice how effortlessly things unfold when you surrender. The people who are meant to be in your life show up at the right time. The opportunities you once longed for appear without struggle. The doors that once seemed closed now open with ease. You are no longer forcing. Life is carrying you forward, guiding you with gentle precision. The more you trust, the more you allow, the more you receive. The past no longer defines you. You are not bound by old stories, old limitations, old beliefs that once held you back. You have stepped into a new version of yourself, one that is limitless, one that is free. You no longer replay the past in your mind, no longer dwell on what could have been, what should have been. You understand now that everything happened exactly as it needed to bring you to this moment. There are no regrets, only wisdom gained. You are no longer controlled by fear. It no longer has a place in your mind, in your heart, in your actions. Fear once held you back, but now you move forward with courage, with certainty, with a knowing that nothing can stand in your way. You understand that fear is an illusion, a false story that no longer has power over you. The moment you release it, you become unstoppable. You feel lighter, freer, as if a weight you did not even realize you were carrying has been lifted. The burdens, the worries, the anxieties, they are gone. In their place is peace, a peace that cannot be shaken, that does not depend on circumstances, that remains steady no matter what is happening around you. You no longer need to explain yourself, to prove yourself, to seek approval from others. You move in silence, with confidence, with a knowing that speaks louder than words. You do not need the world to understand your journey, for you understand it. You do not need anyone to validate your path. for you walk it with unwavering faith. Everything in your life begins to feel effortless, not because challenges do not exist, but because you no longer see them as obstacles. You see them as opportunities. You welcome them, knowing that they are simply part of the process. You do not resist, you do not fight against them, you move through them with grace, knowing that they are shaping you, preparing you for what is to come. Your dreams no longer feel distant. They feel real, present, already yours. You no longer wait for them to happen. You live as if they already have, and in doing so, you bring them into reality. You embody the energy of what you desire, and the world cannot help but reflect it back to you. This is how you know you are on the right path, not by what others say, not by what the world tells you, but by what you feel deep within. It is a knowing beyond words, beyond logic, beyond explanation. It is a certainty that does not waver. You no longer need to seek signs. You are the sign. You no longer need to question. You already know. And as you move forward, you do so with unwavering trust, with absolute confidence, with the full knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. You begin to realize that the struggles that once consumed you were never meant to break you, but to build you. Every moment of pain, every trial, every seeming setback was nothing more than a preparation for the greatness unfolding before you. You look back, not with regret, but with gratitude, for you now understand that without those moments, you would not have awakened to the truth of who you are. You would not have discovered the depth of your own power. You would not have seen how infinitely capable you are of transforming your own life. The resistance you once felt toward change begins to dissolve. You no longer fear the unknown. You no longer cling to what was, to what felt safe, to what once gave you comfort. You understand now that growth requires movement, that transformation requires letting go. And so, you surrender, not in weakness, but in absolute trust. You surrender to the unfolding of life, knowing that every shift, every change, every redirection is guiding you closer to your divine destiny. You find that you are no longer attached to outcomes. You do not demand that things happen in a certain way, at a certain time, in a certain form. You simply allow. You move in faith, in certainty, in the deep knowing that what is meant for you will always find its way to you. And because of that, you are no longer ruled by frustration, by impatience, by doubt. You remain steady, unmoved by circumstances, unshaken by delays, for you know that everything is aligning for you in perfect divine order. The energy of scarcity, of lack, of limitation no longer controls you. You do not operate from a place of needing, of begging, of chasing. You operate from a place of fullness. You embody the very thing you desire, and because of that, it naturally flows to you. You do not worry about what you do not have. You do not obsess over what is missing. Instead, you focus on what is already within you, on what is already unfolding, on the abundance that is already present. And in doing so, you attract even more. You notice how the right people begin to appear in your life, not by chance, not by coincidence, but by alignment. You no longer struggle to maintain relationships that drain you, that do not serve you, that pull you away from your purpose. You let go of the need to force connections, to seek approval, to hold on to what no longer belongs in your life. And as you do, the right souls enter, people who align with your vision, who support your growth, who elevate your spirit. You realize that solitude does not mean loneliness. You no longer fear being alone, for you understand that solitude is where your greatest power is cultivated. You cherish the moments of stillness, the moments of silence, the moments where you can hear the voice within you guiding you forward. You are no longer distracted by the noise of the world, no longer seeking validation outside of yourself. You are content in your own presence, for you have discovered that everything you need has always been within you. You begin to move differently. You walk with confidence, with certainty, with a quiet power that does not need to announce itself. You no longer explain yourself, defend yourself, seek approval from those who do not understand your journey. You do not waste energy convincing anyone of your worth, for you know that those who are meant to see it already do. You do not chase opportunities, for you know that the right ones will find you. You do not force anything, for you trust that what is meant for you cannot be lost. You notice that time begins to work in your favor. What once felt delayed now arrives at the perfect moment. What once seemed impossible now unfolds effortlessly. You understand now that everything happens not when you demand it, but when you are truly ready to receive it. And so you stop resisting, stop pushing, stop doubting. You step into alignment, and in doing so you step into a flow where things begin to come together with ease. You wake up, you feel an undeniable sense of inner peace, one that is not dependent on circumstances or the approval of others. It is a peace that surpasses understanding, a calmness that remains unshaken by the turbulence of the external world. You no longer react impulsively to situations. Instead, you observe them with clarity, responding with wisdom rather than fear. The things that once disturbed your mind, the worries that once kept you awake at night, no longer hold power over you. You trust in the unseen, in the divine unfolding of your path, knowing that every experience, whether joyful or challenging, is guiding you toward your highest good. Doubt no longer consumes you. You do not waste energy questioning whether you are capable, whether you are deserving, whether you are moving in the right direction. You know there is a quiet certainty within you, a deep-seated conviction that you are being led, that every step is divinely orchestrated. Even when the road ahead is unclear, you do not panic, for you have learned to trust the process. You understand now that everything happens at the perfect time, and what is meant for you will never miss you. The past no longer defines you. You are not trapped by old mistakes, regrets, or painful memories. You have released the need to relive those moments, to hold on to what no longer serves you. You have forgiven yourself, forgiven others, and set yourself free. The weight you once carried, the guilt, the shame, the resentment, is gone. In its place is a lightness, a sense of freedom that allows you to move forward, unburdened, fully open to the blessings that await you. Opportunities begin to appear effortlessly. What once felt distant now feels within reach. The right people come into your life at the right time, without force, without struggle. Doors that once seemed closed now swing open with ease. You do not need to chase anything, for you have stepped into alignment with the flow of life. Your desires, your dreams, your highest aspirations, they are no longer things you wish for, they are things you expect. And because you expect them, they come. You are no longer controlled by fear. Fear no longer dictates your choices, no longer paralyzes you from taking action. You recognize fear for what it is, a false illusion, a limiting belief that you have now transcended. Instead of resisting it, you acknowledge it and move forward anyway. Fear may whisper, but it does not lead you. You walk with courage, knowing that everything you desire is on the other side of that fear. You do not seek validation. You no longer look to others to confirm your worth, to approve of your choices, to validate your dreams. You have stepped into your own power, and in doing so you have become immune to the opinions of the world. You trust yourself. You trust your intuition, your inner voice, the divine guidance that speaks softly but clearly. You no longer need external confirmation because you already know you are exactly where you need to be. Synchronicities surround you. You notice patterns, repeating numbers, meaningful coincidences that remind you that you are being guided. These are not random occurrences, they are signs, confirmations that you are in alignment with your highest path. You no longer dismiss them as mere chance. You understand that everything is connected, that the universe is constantly speaking to you, affirming that you are on the right path. You no longer cling to control. There is no need to force things, no need to manipulate outcomes. You have learned to surrender, to trust, to let go of the illusion of control. And in doing so, you find that everything falls into place effortlessly. What is meant for you comes naturally. What is not meant for you fades away without resistance. You do not chase, you do not struggle, you allow. And in this allowing, you discover true power. Your relationships begin to shift. The people who are aligned with your new frequency naturally remain, while those who are not begin to drift away. You do not force connections, you do not beg people to stay. You understand that as you evolve, so does your environment. You no longer fear losing people because you know that those who are meant for you will always find a way to stay. You attract relationships that uplift, support, and align with your highest self. There is no more waiting. You no longer wait for happiness, for love, for success. You embody it now. You do not postpone your joy for some future moment. You live it in the present. You no longer say, "I will be happy when," because you have realized that happiness is not something to be chased. It is something to be chosen. And because you choose it now, your life begins to reflect that choice. Your self-worth is no longer tied to external achievements. You no longer measure your value based on how much you accomplish, how much you earn, how others perceive you. You have stepped into a place of deep self-acceptance, a knowing that you are enough as you are. This does not mean you do not strive for more, but you no longer attach your worth to the outcome. You know that your value is inherent, unshakable, undeniable. You wake up with gratitude. Each day is no longer something to endure, but something to embrace. You begin to notice the small things, the beauty in the simple moments, the morning sunlight, the sound of the wind, the laughter of a loved one. These things fill you with appreciation. You are no longer waiting for something extraordinary to happen to feel grateful. Gratitude has become your default state, and because of that, life continues to give you more to be grateful for. You no longer react emotionally to delays or detours. What used to frustrate you now only deepens your trust. You understand that every delay has a purpose, that every redirection is a blessing in disguise. You no longer resist when things do not go as planned, because you know that there is always a higher plan unfolding. You embrace patience, knowing that what is truly meant for you can never be lost. You feel a deep connection to something greater. Whether you call it God, the universe, divine intelligence, you no longer feel separate from it. You understand that you are not alone, that you are guided, supported, and deeply loved. This awareness changes everything. You no longer live in fear, in doubt, in uncertainty. You walk with confidence, with faith, with a knowing that you are part of something far greater than yourself. You stop seeking and start being. You no longer search for answers outside of yourself because you realize that everything you have been looking for has always been within you. You stop trying to become someone else and instead fully embrace who you are. And in doing so, you find peace, you find purpose, you find freedom. Everything begins to align, not because you forced it, not because you fought for it, but because you became it. You stepped into the energy of what you desired, and the world responded accordingly. You no longer hope for a better life, you live it. You no longer wait for the right time, you create it. You no longer question if you are on the right path. You know you are. And because of that, you move forward, not with hesitation, but with absolute certainty. You are no longer bound by fear, by doubt, by the limitations of the past. You are free, free to create, free to love, free to live as the highest version of yourself. And as you continue on this path, you do so with the unwavering trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. You find yourself no longer driven by urgency, no longer feeling the need to rush or force things into place. There is a stillness within you, a deep knowing that what is meant for you will find you effortlessly. You no longer operate from a place of desperation or scarcity, because you have realized that abundance is already yours. You no longer believe that life is something you must fight against or conquer. Instead, you flow with it, trusting that every experience, is bringing you closer to the life you were always meant to live. Your mind has become clear, no longer cluttered with fear-based thoughts or self-doubt. The mental chatter that once filled your days has quieted, replaced by a calm and steady confidence. You no longer feel the need to seek reassurance from others because you have cultivated an inner strength that cannot be shaken. The old need for approval, the constant worrying about what others think, has dissolved. You stand firm in your truth, unmoved by the opinions of the world. There is a newfound ease in your presence, a lightness in the way you move through life. The struggles that once felt overwhelming no longer have the same power over you. You do not resist challenges, you welcome them, knowing that each obstacle is simply an opportunity for growth. You do not shrink in the face of adversity, you rise to meet it with unwavering faith. You trust that every difficulty is shaping you, strengthening you, refining you into the person you were always meant to become. You no longer feel the need to compare your journey to others. You have let go of the illusion that you are behind or that you must meet certain milestones to be worthy. You understand that your path is unique, that your timing is divine, and that there is no race to be won. You no longer envy the success of others because you know that what is meant for them is theirs, and what is meant for you is on its way. Jealousy has no place in your heart because you recognize that abundance is infinite and that there is more than enough for everyone. Your intuition has become sharper, guiding you with clarity and precision. You no longer second-guess yourself, no longer ignore the whispers of your soul. You trust your instincts, knowing that they are leading you in the right direction. The small, quiet voice within you has become your compass, and you follow it without hesitation. You do not need logical explanations for everything. You simply know, and in that knowing, you find freedom. You are no longer held captive by the opinions of others. The judgments, the criticisms, the expectations, they no longer define you. You have learned that you cannot control how others perceive you. And more importantly, you no longer care to try. You live authentically, unapologetically, fully aligned with your own truth. You no longer mold yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You have outgrown the need to please, and in doing so, you have stepped into the fullness of who you are. Your energy has shifted, and as a result, everything around you has begun to change. You notice that the things you once attracted, the struggles, the disappointments, the toxic cycles, are no longer present in your life. You no longer engage in meaningless drama, no longer tolerate relationships that drain your spirit. The more you honor yourself, the more you find yourself surrounded by people and experiences that uplift and inspire you. You have become a magnet for peace, for love, for abundance. You no longer chase after love, no longer seek validation in another person's presence. You have cultivated a love within yourself so deep that it radiates outward. You understand that real love does not require force, does not come with conditions or fears. You do not beg for attention, do not settle for half-hearted connections. You attract love effortlessly because you have become love itself. The relationships in your life now reflect the love you have nurtured within. Your faith has become unshakable. You no longer question whether things will work out for you. You know they will. You do not allow temporary setbacks to discourage you because you understand that they are simply redirections, guiding you to something even greater. You trust in divine timing, knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. You no longer pray out of desperation, but out of gratitude, not because you lack, but because you already have. You are no longer a prisoner of the past. The pain, the disappointments, the betrayals, they no longer hold power over you. You have released them, choosing to walk forward unburdened. You no longer carry resentment in your heart, no longer replay old wounds in your mind. Forgiveness has set you free, not because the past was justified, but because you refuse to allow it to dictate your future. You have reclaimed your power, no longer allowing what happened to define who you are. You no longer wait for permission to live the life you desire. You have stepped into a space where you create your own reality, where you boldly claim the blessings that have always been yours. You are no longer afraid to take up space, no longer afraid to speak your truth, no longer afraid to shine. You walk with confidence, with grace, with a quiet yet undeniable strength. You do not need to announce your growth. It is evident in the way you carry yourself, in the way you move through the world. You are no longer weighed down by the fear of failure. You understand that failure is an illusion, that every misstep is simply a lesson, a redirection, a stepping stone toward your success. You do not fear taking risks. Do not fear stepping outside of your comfort zone. You embrace change, knowing that the greatest transformations happen when you allow yourself to evolve. You no longer cling to the familiar, no longer hold on to what feels safe. You trust that every ending is a new beginning, that every loss is making space for something greater. You have discovered that happiness is not something to be found outside of you, not something that depends on circumstances or achievements. You have realized that happiness is a choice, a state of being that you cultivate within. You no longer postpone your joy for some future moment. You live it now. You no longer believe that you will be happy when you reach a certain goal or when things finally fall into place. You understand that happiness exists in this moment, in the here and now. You wake up each day with gratitude, not because everything is perfect, but because you have learned to see the beauty in everything. You no longer take the small things for granted, no longer overlook the blessings that surround you. You appreciate the warmth of the sun, the laughter of a friend, the simple moments that once went unnoticed. You understand that the more you focus on gratitude, the more life gives you to be grateful for. You are no longer attached to the outcome. You do not cling to specific results, do not place your happiness in things turning out a certain way. You have surrendered, trusting that what is meant for you will come in its own perfect time. You do not resist change, do not fight against what is unfolding. You flow with life, allowing it to unfold naturally, knowing that everything is happening for your highest good. You have stepped into a new version of yourself, one that is no longer bound by fear, by doubt, by the limitations of the past. You have become the person you were always meant to be, whole, confident, at peace. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. You no longer seek external validation, no longer wait for life to happen to you. You have taken control, not through force, but through alignment. You have become unstoppable, not because you never fall, but because you always rise. You no longer dwell on what could go wrong, you focus on what is possible. You no longer limit yourself with old beliefs, you have rewritten your story. You no longer hope for change, you embody it. You have stepped into your power, and now there is no turning back. You have come too far to doubt now. Every sign, every shift, every moment of clarity has been leading you to this place of understanding. You are not lost. You are divinely guided. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. The journey may not always be easy, but the path is clear, because it is the one you were always meant to walk. Trust in the unfolding. Trust in yourself. Trust that you are on the right path, and nothing can take away what has already been set in motion. The life you seek is not ahead of you, it is already here. Step forward with faith and watch it manifest before your very eyes. The moment you hold that ticket in your hand, you are not hoping. It is a divine confirmation of what you have already accepted within. Creation is not something that happens when numbers are drawn. It is something that happened the instant you accepted your fortune as real in the unseen. When you play the lottery, don't play from lack. Don't whisper prayers soaked in fear. Don't beg the universe. Instead, step into the feeling that the draw has already passed, and your numbers were the ones, not will be, were. You must begin at the end. What do you feel the morning after you won? That moment, that stillness, that exhale. You must bring that emotion to the surface now. That inner state is the magnet, not the ticket. People chase numbers, but numbers chase belief. Numbers follow assumption. They are not random when you're rooted in a truth deeper than the seen. So you play once. You do not panic. You do not rush to check. You go on with your day as one who already lives in the fulfillment. You trust the process, not because the world promised you, but because your inner world already shifted. You already built the mansion. You already bought your mother her dream home. You already gave. You already danced in the kitchen, overwhelmed by tears of divine gratitude. Go to the end. Stand there. Let that moment define you now. You see, what happens in the outer world is the echo of what has already occurred within. And echoes always follow the sound. So sound your truth now. I am already in possession of the abundance I sought. Not tomorrow. Not one day. Now. The feeling is the bridge. The state is the path. Let go of how. The mind will try to calculate probabilities. But abundance is not mathematical. It is spiritual. It is governed by knowing, not odds. And when the result comes, and it will come, do not be surprised. Do not say, I can't believe it. Say instead, of course. This is exactly who I chose to be. The ticket was never the source. You were. You didn't chase a miracle. You became it. You are not buying a ticket to get lucky. You are stepping into a version of yourself that has already won. You are not dealing with chance, odds, or probability. You are entering the unseen realm where all possibilities already exist, and your assumption selects which one will be made visible. The lottery ticket is not your savior. It is only a symbol. The real winning happens in consciousness, long before numbers are drawn. And consciousness expresses itself through imagination. Imagination is not a mere daydream. It is the creative act. It is the original cause. Everything you touch, wear, spend, and build in the physical world first existed in imagination. The house you live in was once a sketch. The phone in your hand was once just an idea. So too is wealth, success, and winning. You must learn to live in imagination as though it were more real than what your senses show you. For what you call reality is simply old imagination pushed out. It has delayed the echo, not the origin. The echo, the origin. So when you play the lottery, do not imagine yourself buying the ticket. Do not focus on the moment of hoping or waiting. Instead, imagine the result. Imagine the outcome as already yours. Ask yourself, what would it feel like if I had already won? Not will I win, but I have won, it is finished, I have received. This question shifts your entire consciousness. Your heartbeat slows, your body relaxes, your spirit rejoices, not because of what is coming, but because what is. Walk into that version of yourself. See your hands holding the check. Feel the weight of security. Sense the peace of no longer needing. Taste the freedom. Let the scene unfold in vivid detail. Not for the sake of fantasy, but for alignment. Imagination is spiritual law in motion. When you persist in a scene, when you repeat it, not with anxious wanting, but calm knowing, you impress it upon the deeper mind. And what is impressed must be expressed. This is not magic in the sense the world uses the word. It is law. It is structure. The law says, what you assume to be true and remain loyal to will harden into fact. So you must not imagine today and doubt tomorrow. You must not assume for 10 minutes, then look to your outer world for evidence. No farmer plants a seed and digs it up every hour. He knows that what he planted is alive, active, and unfolding in the unseen. Likewise, when you imagine your winning moment, stay there. Dwell in it. And even if the world shows otherwise, remain faithful to what you saw. You are not hoping, you are remembering. Your outer world will catch up. Life must reflect the inner image. It cannot do otherwise. The mirror does not change the face, it reflects it. You don't win the lottery by wishing harder than others. You win by knowing, by being the one who already has. That is the secret. And when your senses scream, "Look, it hasn't happened yet," you smile. You know better. You know creation is finished. You are only walking through the echo of the old. Imagination is not passive. It is the workshop of the divine. The more real it becomes within you, the more the world must yield to it. So next time you play the lottery, don't try to win. Declare it done, see it, feel it, live from it, and then walk away. Not as one who played, but as one who received. Because imagination creates reality. Most people play from hope or desperation, but you must learn the sacred difference between hoping and feeling it done. You do not manifest by pleading with life. You manifest by feeling from the end. Hope is unstable. It is rooted in lack. It says, maybe, if I'm lucky, something good will happen. And as long as you are in that state, you remain separated from your desire. Hope stretches the thing into the future, always just out of reach. But creation is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of alignment. To align with the new reality, you must feel its truth now, not later. Not when the world gives you permission, but now, before the evidence, before the phone call, before the numbers are announced. You must feel the outcome, the reality where you already won. How do you feel when your bank account is overflowing? What does your breathing do? How does your body respond to that sense of freedom, safety, and divine overflow? It isn't frantic. It isn't excited in a desperate way. It is calm. It is secure. It is generous. Those are the feelings you must cultivate, not when you receive the money, but before it arrives. When you imagine, you are not rehearsing. You are relocating. You are placing your consciousness into a version of you who already received. And when you sit in that feeling long enough, the world has no choice but to conform. You do not beg the universe. You embody your desire. You do not ask repeatedly for what has already been claimed in your spirit. You say thank you, not please. This is why many remain in the cycle of almost. They feel bursts of hope, but then fall back into worry, fear, checking, doubting. That is not the feeling of winning. That is the vibration of waiting. You are not waiting. You are not becoming. You are remembering. The world you see now is the reflection of old assumptions, old emotions, old beliefs. But the future belongs to the version of you that feels differently, that rests in assurance. So feel the outcome. See yourself walking into the bank. Feel the leather of the chair as the banker welcomes you like royalty. Hear the words of loved ones celebrating. Taste the food you'd buy. Smell the air of freedom. Let it saturate your senses, not for entertainment, but for transformation. The longer you dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the shorter the distance between you and the physical result. You may not control the means, but you are the author of the state, and the state always produces its own results. Every inner feeling is a seed planted in the soil of awareness. If watered by repetition and belief, it must grow. So stop playing the lottery from fear. Stop playing from hope. Hope is too light. It doesn't carry the conviction of knowing. Instead, play from rest. Play from celebration. Play as one who already knows how the story ends. Your feeling is the key. Your inner state is the cause. If the feeling is there, the evidence will come. Let this be your new prayer. I no longer hope. I know. I no longer wish. I am. I no longer wait. I remember I already have what I once sought, and then live that truth. Walk as one who owns it, think as one who holds it, respond to life as one who can afford to be kind, still, unshaken. Because that's how the winner feels before the win arrives. And that is the magic. It is merely a shadow of the state you have already assumed within, a physical echo of a decision made in the invisible world. You didn't create abundance by purchasing a piece of paper. You confirmed your inner claim through that act. Most people believe the ticket is the source. They worship it, stress over it, check it repeatedly, cling to it as if it alone holds the power. But the truth is, the ticket is not the power. You are. Creation is not set into motion when you buy the ticket. It was set into motion the moment you imagined yourself wealthy and felt it to be true. That inner assumption is the seed. That inner knowing is the birthplace of your fortune. The ticket is only the prop in your play. It is not the source of your breakthrough. So let go of it. Not physically, but emotionally. Don't tie your sense of power or security to whether a number is drawn. The real work has already been done in consciousness. You have selected your outcome. You have walked the scene. You have rested in the feeling. And now you must detach. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you no longer grasp. You are no longer anxious. You are no longer controlled by whether this specific channel brings your good. If the wealth is yours, it must come, whether by the lottery or 1,000 other ways. It must arrive. That is law, that is truth. The mature creator does not cling to the channel. They trust the principle. What I am inwardly aware of, I become outwardly surrounded by. You don't chase the channel. You rest in the state. Your ticket may be the means, or it may not. That's not your business. What is your business is the assumption, the feeling, the claim. If you continue to say, I hope this ticket changes my life, you are still giving your power away. You are making the ticket your God. But the ticket has no life of its own. It cannot bless you without your belief. It cannot move your world unless you've moved it within. Detach. Do not wait around for the drawing. Do not feed the energy of desperation. You've played, you've declared, now live. Celebrate now, not when. Give now, not someday. Move now, not once the money comes. That energy, the energy of completion, is what speeds your manifestation. And don't limit yourself to this ticket. You may be guided to another path, another channel. Stay open, stay loose, stay expectant without obsession. Creation is finished. That's the truth. The wealth you seek has already been birthed in the invisible. You are only catching up to it now in time. The outer world is too slow to keep up with real creation. It lags behind your spirit. So be patient, be steady, and detach. When you detach from the ticket, you reclaim your power. You say, whether through this or something better, my good is coming. It is mine already in the unseen, and I rest in that. Don't make an idol of the method, honor the source. Your imagination, your assumption, your inner world. Detach and you will see. What you let go of with trust will come rushing back with proof. What you surrender becomes magnetized. What you release comes quickly. Because the ticket was never your source, you must embody the version of yourself who already knows the money is his. Not wishes, not begs, not hopes, but knows. There is a version of you already alive in imagination, who walks through life in peace, in overflow, in assurance. That version does not question if the lottery will be won. He does not need to constantly look at numbers or chase signs. He lives from the end. He smiles because the world has already conspired in his favor. That version of you exists now. He is not a dream, he is a reality waiting to be claimed through identity. You see, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. If you want to become wealthy, don't wait to see the money. Become wealth in thought, in posture, in tone, in choice. Let every part of your daily rhythm reflect that something has already shifted. Begin to walk like one who is no longer bound by lack. Talk like one who is no longer in fear. Think like one who already knows how his story ends. Your inner dialogue is the script the world reads to respond to you. And your actions, however small, must speak of faith, not uncertainty. Don't say, "One day I will be rich." Say, "I remember when I didn't feel this free." Speak from the end. Look back at the old you with gratitude, because that chapter is already closed. When you live as if, something begins to move in the unseen. Because you're no longer begging for a new life, you are becoming it. This doesn't mean pretending, this means aligning. This means refusing to contradict your desire with thought, word, or habit. A wealthy person doesn't count every dollar with anxiety. They rest, they flow, they expect goodness. They make decisions from sufficiency, not survival. Begin today, ask yourself, what would I no longer worry about if I had already won? Let that answer guide you. Would you still doubt your future? Would you still shrink yourself to please others? Would you still hold back your joy or generosity? No, you wouldn't. So live like that now. Wear your confidence. Dress in gratitude. Show up for your life as if the news already came, because in truth it has. You received it when you first imagined it and persisted in that imagination. The external world may take a moment to reflect it, but don't be fooled. The invisible always precedes the visible. Stop waiting for permission to be the person you desire to become. Life doesn't respond to waiting, it responds to being. So start now. Walk into rooms as though you belong there. Speak as one whose vision is already complete. Expect miracles as the most natural thing in the world. And when challenges arise, face them with the stillness of someone who knows the outcome cannot be altered. You are no longer hoping to receive. You are remembering what you already claimed in spirit. Live from the end. Live from the abundance. Live from the quiet, powerful knowing that your world is simply catching up to your inner declaration. And if you truly live as the one who already has, day by day, thought by thought, there will come a moment when your physical reality can no longer deny it. Wishing is weak. It floats in the realm of maybe. It suggests distance, uncertainty, and lack. But declaring is power. It says, "It is already mine, I accept it, I expect it, I am it." There is a sacred difference between those who hope and those who know. Those who hope are still on the outside of their desire, looking in. Those who know stand in the center of it, surrounded by the reality they have already claimed in spirit. You see, the lottery, or any form of abundance, is not about chance. It is about consciousness. Life does not respond to randomness. It responds to alignment. It responds to certainty. It responds to the vibration of finality, the inner conviction that the thing is already done. When you declare, "I am wealthy, I am chosen, I am already in possession of the winning result," you are not speaking empty words. You are invoking the law. You are activating the unseen machinery that begins to move people, places, and circumstances to fulfill what you've spoken from within. Declaration is creation. The world teaches you to beg, to plead, to hope that something good might happen. But those who understand the truth do not ask as beggars. They assume their rightful place. They enter the throne room with boldness. They speak their truth not as a request, but as remembrance. When you declare, you stop asking if, You stop wondering when. You begin to live in already. I have already received. I already won. I already know how this ends. These words are not delusion. They are the blueprint of manifestation. They form the mold into which reality must be poured. And this is where the world will call you irrational. This is where people will say, you can't declare something you haven't seen. But you must understand, the unseen is more real than the seen. The visible world is the shadow of consciousness. All things appear here after they are formed there. So don't ask life to give you something you won't declare as yours. Don't sit and wait for numbers when you won't even affirm your identity as the winner. You must declare boldly. Speak your desire into the air, not to be heard by others, but to be anchored within you. Let your word be law. Let it settle into your bones, and then live accordingly. Don't contradict your declaration with actions that say, I'm still unsure. Don't speak words of wealth and live with the mindset of waiting. Your movement must match your mouth. Your life must reflect your belief. Declaration changes your posture. It lifts your head. It stills your breath. It silences your fear. The moment you say, it is mine, the search ends. You no longer seek, you expect. You no longer strive, you receive. You no longer wish, you walk in truth. And you must continue declaring until the outer world yields. Not because it grants your wish, but because it must reflect what you have become. The mirror has no choice but to show what you project. So declare it again, in the silence of your mind, in the privacy of your room, in the stillness of night. Speak it. I am already wealthy. I am already chosen. I am already delivered into the life I saw in my imagination. Say it not once, but until it feels natural, until you cannot imagine being anyone else, until doubt has no voice left to argue. You were never meant to wish like the world does. You were meant to declare and watch creation rise to meet your. Do not keep checking the ticket. Do not obsess over the draw date. Do not sit in anxiety, wondering whether or not your numbers will come. That is not faith. That is fear pretending to be belief. You are not playing to get something. You are playing as confirmation that you already have it. The moment you imagine the outcome, feel it deeply and accept it as already yours, your work is done. The rest is unfolding. The rest is alignment. The rest is inevitable. So play once and let it go, not because you're careless, but because you trust. You trust the law, you trust your imagination, you trust the unseen to shape what you've already declared in silence. People who do not understand this principle are enslaved by the physical. They cling to the ticket like it's their lifeline. They check it every hour. They search for signs, chase validation, and drain themselves with doubt. But creation doesn't respond to obsession. It responds to stillness. Stillness is the posture of power. To play once and walk away in peace is to say, it is already done. Whether I hold the evidence yet or not, I know it is mine. You don't plant a seed and keep digging it up to see if it's growing. You don't stand over the soil in panic. No. You plant, you water with gratitude, and you walk away. Because you know the earth is doing its work. So it is with consciousness. When you imagine the end, the winning, the celebration, the overflow, you planted your seed. The ticket was just a gesture, an outward ritual of an inner knowing. But now your job is not to obsess over the how. Your job is to live in the assumption that the outcome is guaranteed. Don't tell everyone you played. Don't argue with your own mind. Don't negotiate with doubt. Instead, hold your head high, smile inwardly. Move through life as if the very thing you once asked for has already been dispatched into your path, before it has. Every time you return to check and question and worry, you uproot the seed, you delay the process, you affirm that you don't believe it's already yours. But when you walk away in peace, you are aligning with true power. You are sending a signal that says, I am no longer in waiting, I am in receiving. There's a sacred dignity in playing once, not playing 10 times out of desperation, not begging the universe, but making your move from a place of assurance and then letting it be. Don't confuse effort with effectiveness. Real faith is not loud, it is not anxious, it is quiet, steady, resolute. The man who plays once and forgets about it is more powerful than the one who plays every day with trembling hands and pleading words. Because one is trying to change the world from the outside, the other knows the world is only catching up to what he already created within. So play once, and then move on with your life. Live richly, speak joyfully, give generously, dream expansively, not because of what might come, but because of what already has. And when the result appears, you will not be surprised. You will simply nod and say, of course. I knew this long before the numbers aligned. This is just the reflection. You were never meant to wish and wonder. You were born to declare and create. This isn't about a ticket. It isn't about odds. It's about you. The one who dares to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and who lives from the end, not toward it. When you imagine the result, feel it as already done, and walk in the world as one who has, not one who wants. You step into divine power. You play not to win. You play because you already know it is yours. Detach from the method. Don't obsess over the numbers. Don't make the mistake of checking and doubting and begging. The world mirrors your inner stance. Let your inner world rest in the knowing. Let your movement, your words, your posture reflect completion. Declare it done. Feel the outcome. Walk away in peace. Because creation is finished. It was finished the moment you accepted it in imagination. Now all that remains is the unfolding. So trust it, live it, and watch the world rise to match what you have claimed in spirit. This is the secret. This is the power. This is the magic. And it was always within you. Thank you for listening. May you walk in calm certainty and manifest not by chance, but by knowing.